welcome to AHA, A Human Among Humans.
Us.
Michael and Michelle, and welcome you to our discussion about fathers, even though I guess the father in all of us.
Oh my.
And how we relate to fathers and
Gee.
Yeah, so do you have a poem that you would like to share?
Many.
Oh, you do?
Like 5. We'll see. See how many we get to.
Okay.
You might have many things to say after the first one.
Okay.
Okay, this is haiku called Trauma's Drama.
It's a haiku.
Yes.
Okay.
Now let's try to say it to my father. Father, I loved, whose knife lifts to sacrifice me. Angel, help me love. Can I say it one more time?
Yeah. Would you like to do any sort
Movements?
of movement with
Okay,
it?
I guess I would.
Yeah? Okay.
Trauma's Drama.
Okay, so even the title.
Even the title. Trauma's. Oh, we'll do for real. Trauma's Drama. Father, I loved, whose knife lifts to sacrifice me. Angel, help me love. Does that make any sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah.
It's very intense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a trauma's drama, like the title says. Would you like to explain further? I can say what.
Oh,
I get out of it.
what do you get out of it? That's much more interesting, yes, than what I put into it.
Well, okay. I'm thinking. Whatever the circumstance that there's some sort of circumstance that the relationship that you were going to be sacrificed and killed, essentially, and put in such a predicament that within that situation you needed, well, what is interesting is that you chose to decide to try to how can you love? And it makes me think of there's some teaching about a Buddhist teaching about a guy who was at a Jewish concentration camp, and maybe you have told this story, where he was able to open his heart to the people that were sacrificing him as well, and it helped him in the long run. I think that he viewed it as it was important for himself as well, and so it's just a curious thing, and it's hopeful for. It's a curious thing because It is curious. Certainly you want some instinct to survive and protect yourself, and that's pretty vitally important to do so. And it must be the serenity prayer where is it you realize that you can make a change, and where do you realize that you can't, and then what do you do in that situation, and how do you not become bitter in your heart? So what does this bring up for you?
Well, sometimes when people write about other situations, or when I do and other people, we can get our feelings out. So this, in some ways, was inspired by the story of Abraham being called by God, the Father, to sacrifice his son. And so there's many paintings of Isaac on the altar, bound up, and Abraham's knife is over Isaac, ready to kill him. And an angel comes at the last minute and stops Abraham from doing this. And Abraham's the father of all Jews, Christians, and Muslims. This is how Judaism, Christianity, and Islam got started.
Oh, so Abraham's the father of all the Jews and Christians and Muslims.
Yep.
Okay.
And this particular event is, in some ways, it's the last time he hears from God. It's a puzzling event where the father is about to kill the son. And if he killed the son, Muslims think it was Ishmael. If he killed Ishmael and Isaac, that would be the end of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So they
and God ordered him to do it.
God commanded him to do it.
Commanded him to do it,
or asked him to. Actually, a more sensitive translation, which is happening now, is God says, "Please, please take your son, the one you love."
Sounds like a nonviolent communication.
Yes, a nonviolent.
Making a request instead of a demand.
Instead of a command, yes, it changes things. It didn't stop Abraham from doing it anyway.
He said, "Please kill your son."
Please kill your son.
Yeah, and
Please sacrifice your son.
Please sacrifice your son.
Me, yes.
And so, you were fascinated by this and attracted to this story.
When I left, my father was a fireman. And when I left home to go to the University of Chicago, I started having pictures in my mind of an axe attacking me. And he was a fireman, and it took me a while, out of the horror of it, a long time, to say, who's holding the axe? And so that's how I eventually saw it was him. I did a play where I killed him. So there's an old mantra that a boy becomes a man only when he kills the father within him. Might be very different for women.
Kills the father within him?
Yes. So we have a father in our psyche, and we have to kill that father in order to break free and live our own life.
And make your own decisions.
Yes. I wonder how it is for women.
There's an African story about a song or a chant about carrying a big club. A man doesn't need his mother anymore and he carries a big club.
Yes.
That's curious. I can't picture a story similar for women. Yeah, so in that way, it's a allegorical myth or a psychic myth in the psyche of killing the father to break free and make your own decisions. And And so God doesn't talk again in the Bible.
He doesn't talk to Abraham again.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, in the Hebrew Bible, he stops talking. After Job, he doesn't talk at all.
Mm.
Job shut him up.
Mm.
And maybe Abraham did after this.
Mm. Mm.
And I eventually...
Can you bring this down to real specifics for yourself to make it not just allegorical, but...
Yes, after a long time, I first wrote a play where I killed my father.
Mm-hmm.
And took I was with an axe in the play, and I took the axe and went, pow! Pow! Right on the stage. And it feels very good to do that. And then after a long time, with the help of therapy, I stopped having an axe attack me.
Mm-hmm. Stopped having visions of an axe
Yes, stopped
attacking
having
you.
visions of an axe attacking me. And I eventually got to the point where whatever my inner voice was saying, I would say to it, if you don't speak to me nicely, go away. And I wouldn't listen. So that was part of it. But then the next challenge, after not feeling attacked, both my brothers don't like or love my father at all. But he was a different father to me. At his funeral, my brother Scott, my youngest brother, said, Dad gave all he had to Mike. And after you've heard Mike speak, he said to the audience, you understand why Dad had nothing left to give to us. Which is true. So Dad, my father...
After you hear Mike speak?
Yes, because I spoke first, and the way I talked about my father was unique for a funeral. I remember saying, I can do it now, I ended my talk about, I'm going to speak to my father now.
Okay.
I believe, like many traditions, your ancestors are here if you call, ask them to come.
Oh, yes.
So I say, Dad, which I'm very proud of, not doing it myself, that you were the first person to start a union for college teachers in New Jersey. And everyone who knew my father, knew you, Dad, knew why you were Cleopatra's husband. You were king of denial, I said. My father would just not want to deal with difficult feelings. You asked him how he was doing. Doing great! Doing great! Good to hear from you. Call him up. Good to hear from you. Keep in touch. Those are his, you just call him up. And then I ended it by saying, and so since you were king of denial, which might be happening now, I dreamed I saw Charles Koran last night, alive as you and me. I said, dear Dad, you're 3 days dead. I never died, said he. I never died, said he, which was an old Union song. When someone named Joe Hill died, the song was I never died, because he's still going to help the Union, just like my father. You formed the first union for college teachers in New Jersey.
So what's an example of maybe what you might have needed from him that you didn't get, of why it was so painful, it felt like you were being sacrificed?
Well, I did imagine the axe, so that was the pain.
Yeah. But what that might have been symbolizing,
yes,
or trying to bring to your attention.
I really think, when I was born, they force-fed me, they held me down and forced that. So that was also like the story of Abraham and Isaac with the
protruding,
food coming
something.
down, holding me down. And
Yeah.
so that was, I don't think they were so unhappily married, Dad, you and Mom, that I being the firstborn, this is a story I say, but it was true really, because when my brother was born, my father said, my father joined the Navy when my brother was born, told my mother in the hospital, "Hi, honey, I've just joined the Navy," and then wrote from that I'm not coming back, because it was so horrible between them. So I think when I was conceived and born, a good part of them didn't want me to be. And I'm a sensitive person, and especially when they're holding me down and forcing food down my throat and then hitting me lots, that I somehow felt, well, maybe you don't like having a child.
Yeah. So needing a little TLC.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
Finding someone who can give it to me.
Oh yeah.
Say thanks to Dad.
Yeah.
So more than TLC, needing someone who wanted me to be there, and then was kind and loving. We used to say of you, Dad, that you were a flasher. He would really say, "Hi, Shell, keep in touch." That was it.
Yeah, a lot of I often have felt that there should be a movement, a men's movement, because I often have seen so many fathers seem so distant and uninvolved. It seems really sad to me that they're missing out on a lot. So I think it's painful. A lot of fathers in their position.
And it's changed. There has been a men's movement.
Yeah.
Robert Bly, the poet, helped start it.
Oh.
Men would go into the forest and drum and learn to be more masculine and also more caring.
Yeah.
So nowadays a lot of men, certainly around Cambridge, and my friend Patrick Crowley walks around and takes care of his child.
Yeah. At Head Start, as it was, I remember they were starting to try to get even promotional materials of men with children. And I did see a bulletin board not too long ago of a man with his child. So, yeah. Well, it looks like you have some other things to share. So.
Yeah, this is a work in progress.
Uh-huh.
I just did it for tonight.
Oh, great. Yeah, for us, huh?
Yes.
Oh, for all of us. That's nice.
We'll find out how that sounds.
Yeah.
So it's called Keep in Touch.
Uh-huh. What he liked to say, right?
Yes. And you can stop me in the middle. It's a long talk. Or even in the beginning, anytime you want to say anything. My first memory of you, Dad, is asking you while we were in our backyard garden, why the corn, which is my last name, isn't growing right. That's my first memory. Why isn't the corn growing right?
Oh, Oh.
So that's a good way to make sure your son becomes a philosopher, a philosophy teacher. Just figure out, why aren't I growing right? You play catch with me on the street between the veterans' barracks where we lived. We lived these huge barracks for people who, after they were in the war. I feel bad for you whenever I throw the ball so you can't catch it. So I'm even at 5 or 6, I'm feeling for I think children do that. Too much, I think.
Yeah, I think people don't realize that. Yeah.
You tell me to pick someone from the gang who is chasing me home from school so I can fight him. I fight Jimmy Lynch on the front porch of the barracks. So that was nice. People were chasing me. He said, Mike, pick somebody and you can fight him. And he just watched us fight.
And what's that?
And he watched us fight.
Oh, and he watched him
Yeah,
fight.
taught his boy to be a fighter. You play handball with me lefty, so I have a good chance of winning. You take your queen off the chessboard, so I win almost all our games. When I get better, you take off a castle. When I lose, I cry to myself. When Mom says, he's crying again, you say nothing. It would have been so nice for you to say, it's okay to cry. But men didn't do that then. Women call asking for you when Mom isn't home. I call them back 100 times and then hang up each time. You want me to understand the principles of math when you help me with my homework. You must teach me the principles. I just want the right answers. Like, too bad he would have taught me really helpful. When I tell you I want to be baptized Catholic, you ask me, why can't you just believe what you'd like to without making a ceremony of it? But you do not tell me not to do it. Among all the difficulties, I had with my father, he always respected, I want my son to be free. Even if he does what I don't want him to do, I want him to be free. He was so hurt when I came home from college and said, I don't want to be a lawyer, I want to be a philosopher. But he didn't tell me not to. When I tell you I'm going to be a baptized Catholic, after I'm baptized, you stay in your room for 7 days morning. You really must care for me. When your Jewish friends from the room, when your Jewish friends from that firehouse come over for dinner, you come out of the bedroom. When you see that they do not like my choice but accept me enough to have a discussion about religion, you do too. So then it was over because his friends thought it was okay.
And this is when you said you wanted to
be Catholic.
Yep. And he mourned for 7 days.
Yes.
And then once his friends were talking with you, he came out.
Yep.
Wow.
At the University of Chicago, he visits Rockefeller Chapel with me, so he goes into a church to protest. There was a big protest against the war in Vietnam. When you visit me in Jerusalem, I want you to help me push the earth in a wheelbarrow. I dug this earth from ground that was 2,000 years old, right next to the Wailing Wall. And you say, I don't want to push the earth, Mike. You say, I'm tired of being your father.
Really?
I say, okay, from now on we'll be friends, and I'll call you Charles. And I never called him Dad again.
Oh.
When you come to Massachusetts with your new woman friend, you say, I'll visit you tomorrow, Mike. And then you call and say, you can't trust anything I say to you except when it's about money. You didn't visit. When we go walking, you tell me, we force-fed you as a child. That's probably why you're so stubborn. When you are dying, you do not want me to visit. I say, a friend of mine told me this, I'll be in New York on Wednesday. Is it okay to drop by? Because he wouldn't want me to visit, but if I happen to be in New York, it was. Our last words are on Monday. I call to say, good news. Your woman friend says, good news? Sarcastically. I say, I got the condo for Mom. You say, that's a load off your mind. Or did you say that's a load off my mind? I'm never quite sure what he said then. When I tell Mom that when she sees you in heaven, he'll say what you've often said to us on the phone: "Good to see you. Keep in touch."
Those are really, I enjoy such specific examples. That's yeah, very sad.
Yes, very.
Boy, it's hard to understand why he didn't want to be a father anymore. What was the load? He didn't really carry much of a load in some ways, but in his mind, it was a load.
Yeah.
I wonder what the load was. I guess maybe he didn't want that to begin with, or
Yes.
yeah, so that's what it was.
Yeah. Among other things, all the demands from my mother and me. I had to learn.
Well, you gave him a gift. You were a parent to both your parents.
Oh yes.
It makes me. It's hard. It's hard to. I feel a little angry. That's what happened, right?
Yes, I
Yeah.
feel more sad now. Touched though. I mean, I really, that I only have 8 seconds.
Oh yeah.
That angel does help me love you now, Dad.
So you have an angel that
I
helps
love you.
love.
I love you now.